Senator Cantwell also addressed briefly the issue of private activity bonds, which can serve an important role in financing public projects. In fact, for infrastructure mega projects over the last 15 years, $12 billion in private activity bonds led to $45 billion in project activity. So we're looking at almost a 4x return there. But under current law, our nation's public buildings can't qualify for tax-exempt private activity bonds when employing public-private partnerships. Now, there are certainly projects beyond those that currently qualify for private activity bond financing, which is why I recently reintroduced my Public Buildings Renewal Act with Senator Cortez Masto. I'm curious, however, how we can further leverage private financing to fund public projects. Ms. Sheehan, are there opportunities to expand the use of private activity bonds in the transportation space? And do you believe that it is a worthwhile financing mechanism for us to explore?
So thank you for that question. And yes, state DOTs would be interested in extending any of the current financing mechanisms that are available to us. As I've said in my earlier testimony, we're really trying to, as you described it, stretch the value of the investments that we're making. And being able to partner with the private sector to ensure that we can invest at a greater level and beyond what's available with the revenues being provided is extremely important so that we can advance projects sooner and hedge against inflation when there is a strong economic climate for borrowing.
Well, thank you, Ms. Sheehan. I asked that because I'm looking for some more creativity as we try and identify ways to either pay for or finance our infrastructure investments. What we've seen from the Biden administration's proposals are what we frankly might expect from a Democratic president. Expensive tax and spend proposals. Instead of shackling our free enterprise system with harmful tax hikes as we emerge from a global pandemic, I believe, and I think most of the Hoosiers I represent believe, that we really need to explore creative proposals that are already out there to leverage private sector dollars. We should do that before we turn to increasing taxes as we emerge from this pandemic. Ms. Sheehan, just as a follow-up, what are some public-private partnership proposals you support or think would be useful in improving and developing our transportation infrastructure?
So state DOTs look at our entire program and all of the projects, in particular those large-scale projects, and try to determine what the most cost-effective funding and financing solution might be. And so certainly where public-private partnerships are concerned, we are trying to identify projects that both have a sustainable source of revenue to be able to pay the debt service and support the financing, as well as we need that reliable source of federal funding into the future so that we can embark in P3 projects where we use availability payments and are committing our future state and federal revenues from traditional sources to pay that debt service. But it's all about delivering the project sooner. And so we want to make sure that every financing option is available to us. We have as many tools in the toolkit as possible, because it's about providing that value to the citizens by advancing the projects to benefit communities and provide economic opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Sheehan. I'll give Dr. Kyle an opportunity to answer the same question. Dr. Kyle, what do you support in the public-private partnership space as it relates to transportation infrastructure?
Well, of course, CBO doesn't have a particular policy that we support or oppose. We just assess options for you. As far as
could you assess some options for me, sir?
Sure. As far as public-private partnerships go, or any of the financing mechanisms, They do allow an opportunity for federal money to be used to couple with money from the private sector. That money for the private sector is only coming with the expectation of a return at some point, either by revenue from users of whatever system is being financed, or by future payments from a government.
Okay, so why don't we focus on the prior category as opposed to the latter category? Could you offer some more specificity to some of those options that would yield revenue, which would be used in turn to pay the investors over a number of years?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure. You said the prior category, and I'm not sure what that was.
You seem to break down public-private partnerships into crowding in private investment on the belief that either user fees of some sort, right, would pay back the investors, or the government itself would pay it back through taxation, presumably, right? So, or it could be bonding, but ultimately, that would cost taxpayers. So, if you could offer me some examples of the first area where the revenue alone, you've seen through real life examples, pays back the private investors.
So there are a bunch of projects. Many of them tend to be toll roads that collect revenues from users, tolls, and that contribute to part of the funding of the project. We'd have to get back to you with the specifics of how that funding breaks down by project.
Okay. Well, there's much more to discuss here, but I'm already over time. The chairman's been quite generous. So thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.